This episode of Paradigm Profiles is about a Mexican Mafia underboss's rise and fall, Rudy Poodle. The Mexican Mafia is one of the most fiercest, violent, and well-respected criminal organizations in the California prison system. With approximately 150 to 200 active members in both the federal and state prison systems, it boasts of having tens of thousands of Sureño gang members who remain subordinate and subservient to its dictates. The Mexican Mafia evolved in 1957. An individual by the name of Luis Huerta Flores from Hawaiian Gardens is recognized as the founding member. Originally, the group formed to protect the Hispanic inmates from other already established prison gangs and to unite the Hispanic inmates together as one body. Over the next 8 to 9 years, the Mexican Mafia grew in numbers, and with time, the gang became more ruthless and more powerful. As the group increased in numbers and became more powerful, it began to prey on the non-affiliated Hispanic inmates and all those who were not affiliated with the group. If you were not a member or a close associate, you became open game and you were susceptible to becoming a target of its aggression. In 1968, all those non-affiliated Hispanic inmates who had become targets of the Mexican Mafia's hostilities banded together and formed their own group, La Nuestra Familia. There were a lot of similarities and parallels between these two groups. They were almost identical. The only difference between them were the leadership structure and some of the unwritten rules. The Mexican Mafia functioned without a hierarchy. There wasn't a traditional leadership pyramid that prison gangs typically operated under. They did everything as a collective with a level playing field, meaning rank and status was level across the board. On the other hand, the Nuestra Familia functioned under a paramilitary structure with captains, lieutenants, commanders, and generals. There was a pecking order, and every member fell under a ranking structure that was determined by grade and experience. This is called the category system. There were some other minor differences insofar as the unwritten rules, but one of the more distinctive disparities was the drug policy. The MA didn't have a policy on drug usage either way, but its members openly indulged and drug use was accepted up and down their ranks. I've been around a lot of MA members throughout the years of my incarceration, and it was common to see them getting loaded and openly indulging in hardcore drugs. Heroin seemed to be the most common drug of choice. However, in stark contrast, the NF forbids any type of habit-forming drug use or indulging in anything that was otherwise considered to be hardcore drugs, i.e. heroin, cocaine, crank, PCP, crystal, etc., etc. This policy is vigorously enforced, and in fact, there's been actual NF members that have been killed for using hardcore drugs. But even though this policy has been firmly pushed, rampant drug use amongst the ranks is still prevalent within the organization. And like the MA, most hardcore NF drug users seem to prefer heroin. When these two groups formed, there were no geographical lines. The only thing that distinguished members from either one of these two groups was where their loyalties lied. That's it. The geographical lines and the Norteño and Sureño alliances would come later. Bakersfield became the intersector. From Bakersfield to the Mexican border became Mexican Mafia territory, and from Bakersfield to the Oregon border became the Nuestra Familia territory. Within the Mexican Mafia collective, you have the Mexican Mafia as the supreme authority. Then directly underneath them, you have what are called the camaradas. These are the MA's strongest sympathizers, and they are considered to be part of their elite circle. These guys are also the most trusted and the most dedicated. Under the camaradas, you have just the regular non-structured, non-affiliated street gang Sureños. The Nuestra Familia has a similar collective. At the top, the Nuestra Familia is the supreme authority over the entire following. Then directly underneath them, you have the NR, Nuestra Raza, which are the NF strongest sympathizers, and they are considered to be part of their elite circle. NR members are considered to be the most trusted and the most dedicated soldados, soldiers for the NF. Then under the NR, you have just your regular, non-structured, non-affiliated street gang Norteños. I'm breaking this down for you guys because it's going to be necessary in order for you guys to understand what you're later going to hear in the video. You're actually going to hear an active Mexican Mafia member Rudy Crazy Poodle from San Diego, mentor and educate a group of young up-and-coming camaradas. He apparently does it in a cell that's wired and had no idea that he was being recorded. But before we get into the video, let's go into a little bit of Crazy's history and how he got wrapped up. On January 25, 2012, a federal grand jury indictment naming 119 San Diego County gang members, including a Mexican Mafia underboss, were subsequently arrested in a pre-dawn raid. The operation that began in the early morning hours at Espudo San Marcos' home portrays a sprawling, well-organized criminal network that ran drug dealing on the streets of North County and even extended inside the Vista jail. Rudy Crazy Poodle, 39, allegedly controlled the Sureño gangs in North County and demanded taxes from drug dealers and gang members as tribute to La M, Spanish for the letter M, a nickname for the Mexican Mafia. Authorities also claimed that gang members smuggled drugs into the county-run Vista Center and sold them for the Mexican Mafia, punished opponents, and relayed orders with ease to and from the outside. The indictment, which contains prosecutors' reasons for arresting and charging 51 North County gang members, describes the money-driven politics and inner workings of several local Latino gangs. Some of the gangs have rivalries, but their leaders all obey and make payments to La M, a relatively small and powerful cabal of about 200 people spread out over several states. They operate in state prisons and county jails. In the Vista jail, they smuggled drugs and conducted gang business. On North County streets, the Mafia and gangs under its control, or Sureños, also shook down drug dealers and robbers and demanded a share of their ill-gotten gains. Sureño, Spanish for Southerner, is a term that describes a gang member who is loyal to the Mexican Mafia but is not a member. Law enforcement agencies involved in the raids have declined to give details about the criminal organization beyond those in the indictment. They have also refused to release photos of any of the arrested. The indictment is replete with discussions about taxes or rent paid to Crazy. In some cases, Crazy's associates were demanding monthly tribute from local gangs, the West Side and Diablos of Escondido, Barrio San Marcos, and Barrio Fallbrook locals. The gangs, like anyone else, were reminded and threatened about due dates and assessed late fees for tardy payments. On January 15, 2011, the West Side gang fell $2,000 behind on payments. A Sureño in the Vista jail told the then leader of the West Side gang, also in the jail at the time, that Crazy was going to put a green light on the West Side, the Mexican Mafia's blessing and encouragement to attack the gang's members. He said West Side gang members arrested from December 25, 2010 onward would be attacked in jail. The Sureño told the West Side leader to smuggle drugs into the facility and the Sureño would oversee their distribution in order to fulfill the West Side gang's tax payment. On February 4th, the Sureño notified a West Side member that the green light had been lifted. On August 23, 2011, Gregorio Puebla, a Sureño, laid down La M's law for a female drug dealer. He told her that she would have to pay taxes, whether you like it or not. He apparently went on to tell her, if you get caught lying, or try to dodge that kind of shit, you're going to get into some serious shit. According to the indictment, prosecutors claim that serious trouble involved being beaten and robbed. The document hints at one of the most troubling aspects of the Mexican Mafia described in North County Times interviews with gang experts and current and former gang members. Juvenile hall, jails, and prisons don't hinder its criminal operations. In fact, La M counts on them. The Mexican Mafia formed within the California Department of Corrections in the late 1950s and uses the institutions to educate and indoctrinate its members and foot soldiers. The same way the Nuestra Familia uses institutions and the county jails to indoctrinate and educate its members, especially the young blind gang members that are destined to the Pinta prison. In fact, it's a policy that all blind norteños who are headed to prison be educated while they're in the county jails before they go to prison, and that no norteño enters the prison system without some form of indoctrination. But unlike the Nuestra Familia, who typically prefers recruiting Chicanos, Mexican Americans, La M does tend to include Mexican citizens, Mexican nationals, and is fiercely anti-black. In state prison, it has an alliance with white supremacist groups. Crazy by all standards appears to be a product of La M's system. He was born in the Imperial Valley, moved to Escondido when he was 8, and became involved with gangs at 15. This is when he joined the Diablo street gang. Before long, Crazy was arrested as a juvenile. That's when his true education began. Their grammar school is juvenile hall. Their high school is jail, and prison is their college. They graduate sophisticated in criminal behavior. They come out thoroughly brainwashed, physically fit, clever manipulators of the system. In juvenile halls, institutions ran by the California Youth Authority, street gang allegiances remain strong. Kids belonging to rival Latino gangs carry their rivalries with them and fight one another while in custody. This was our gladiator school. It's where we first began to learn the concepts of loyalty and what it meant to be a young gang member. But most of the kids know little or nothing about the Mexican Mafia or the Nuestra Familia and are oblivious to the fact that their gangs kick drugs and money back up to an NF or La M boss and current and former gang members. In the county jails, individual street gang affiliations begin to soften as racial solidarity becomes more important. Some Latino gangs band together in alliance against the blacks. But this is what sets Norteños and Sureños apart. In Southern California, the Latino gangs are taught to hate the blacks and to treat them like an enemy. But in Northern California, the Latino gangs often grew up in some of the same neighborhoods as the blacks and identify with them as being allies or friends. This is where the Mexican Mafia's influence begins to take hold. Inmates learn that even their gangs answer to someone higher, and the most dedicated could be named a Sureño, a foot soldier of the Mexican Mafia. Sureños retain their street gang affiliations but pledge their true loyalty to La M. It's the same for the NF. They will always represent their hood and where they came from, but their true loyalty is with the NF. Once the Sureños and Norteños get out of jail, they impose La M's or the NF's rules on their own gangs. That's the correlation between street and prison gangs. In fact, I wrote about this in my book. This is instilling the gang's will and purpose into these young gang members. The purpose is to brainwash them and to convert them into true believers. Sometimes hardcore gang members who remain truly loyal to their street gangs refuse to put prison politics first before their hood. They look at criminal organizations like the Mexican Mafia and the Nuestra Familia as interlopers, prison gangs that put prison politics before the hood. Sometimes tribal loyalty is just too strong to break, but these are the individuals who usually end up getting into a wreck. But for the Sureños, the most trusted members become associates of the Mexican Mafia, and some rise to become candidates for membership, the highest rank in the Mexican Mafia. It's a democratic organization. Like I said earlier, there is no official hierarchy among its members, or carnales, and major decisions such as inducting a new member require a vote. In prison, however, the real laws are written by La M and the NF. Some Mafia members or associates serving long sentences claim a prison and rule it from within. This is yet another disparity between the NF and the MA, as this is not how the NF operates. This is the type of dissension that's alleviated because of the way the NF operates under its paramilitary hierarchy. The prisons aren't individually ran, they're overseen by a GOP, a general overseeing the prisons. Also, for La M, Latinos must ask the Mafia boss's permission to fight one another and must follow any orders he hands down, whether it's smuggling drugs, relaying messages, or killing another inmate. But getting back specifically to Crazy, or Crazy Boy, he had risen to power through this system. He was a carnal. He wasn't necessarily physically imposing. He wore glasses, but even as a teen, he was known for his willingness for violence. After some research, I found that in June of 1996, when he was 24, Crazy and another gang member used a gun to carjack a person who was passing out flyers for a high school's anti-event at Washington Park. In that case, Crazy accepted a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of carjacking and 1 count of having prior assault conviction. He was sentenced to more than a decade in prison. It wasn't clear when he was released, but he was a carnal in Escondido for 2 or 3 years after his release. One thing that's been proven true about older gang members is that they tend to be more wiser, more deliberate, and more motivated by cash than bloodlust. Crazy appeared to reflect this. For the most part, he lived in relatively quiet neighborhoods not associated with gang activity. An apartment on Nordal Road in San Marcos, not far from Walmart and Costco, and a condo in the Cape Concord neighborhood on Escondido's east side, a cozy area with an active homeowners association. On August 15th, he ordered his associates to remove graffiti from a tree near his home. And in a move that seemed contrary to gang life in general, he ordered gang members in San Marcos and Escondido to stop tagging entirely about a month later. But this really shouldn't be any real surprise, as Mexican Mafia members have been known in the past to order an end to all drive-by shootings. But this isn't just to be nice. There's always an objective. The aim, of course, is to lower the gang's profiles and to prevent inter-gang violence, which Crazy was probably trying to stop in order to focus more on making money. During the trial, Crazy was held in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in San Diego, a federal prison. He was subsequently convicted and sentenced to 35 years to life. To law enforcement, the indictment and arrest probably represented impressive work, but this victory will be a short-lived one, as someone else will step up and take Crazy's place. It'll take the Mexican Mafia a while to get back in place after this, the same way the NF has rebounded whenever it suffered these same kind of indictments. The group will reorganize itself and find another leader to fill the void. This always leaves a power vacuum. Until Laeme takes back its rightful territory, the Latino gangs and unaffiliated thugs and drug dealers might clash over territory until another Mexican Mafia member rises to power to take charge of North County's criminal activity once more. Rudy Crazy Poodle has continued to rise up the rungs of the Mexican Mafia's corporate ladder. He has become a well-seasoned, savvy leader who personally takes satisfaction in educating and indoctrinating the up-and-coming camaradas. He's what is referred to as a hands-on type of leader. His charismatic and motivating type of style is not only effective, but this is the type of leadership ability that younger aspiring gang members gravitate towards. In the ensuing video, you're going to get to witness a rare opportunity to listen to Crazy as he's actually mentoring and educating young up-and-coming camaradas. Crazy had no idea that he was placed in a cell that was wired and was recording all his interactions like the one you were about to hear. This is an exclusive video that's never been released to the public and that you're only going to see right here on Paradigm Media News. Criminal organizations like the Mexican Mafia and the Nuestra Familia, there's two types of leaders. There's the radical, self-absorbed, narcissistic type that doesn't come across as being approachable. This is someone who's respected solely because of who they are and out of required obligation. The other type of leader is someone who's laid back, charismatic, articulate, they're humble, nurturing, and they come across as being approachable. This is someone who is respected because you want to respect them, and they've genuinely earned your respect through their actions, not out of obligation. It's easy to distinguish which one of these two types of leaders is the righteous one. By Crazy's own standards, he's accomplished himself as one of those that is considered to be one of the righteous ones. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Paradigm Profiles. The next episode will be on the Tunerville homicides, profiling Timothy Joseph McGee. The Impala Street shootout has been pushed back for logistical reasons.
Yeah, you always do what you can for one another, because someday, this is where I came from. ¿Me entiendes?
Yeah.
Yo sí soy carnal, pero soy carnal porque I was a camarada. You know, so I never forget where I came from, because that's where we all began. ¿Me entiendes? So always conduct yourselves appropriately. There may be times where, let's just say they had us all there in the vent in deep sink, and all you got is one little piece of fucking desodorante. Well, you know what, that little ass piece, we're all gonna so at least one day out of the fucking week or 2 days out of the week, we don't smell like motherfucking motherfucking wet dog, you know? ¿Me entiendes? You know, we're put in a fucked up situation. Estamos acá atrás. But we're all we got is each other. You know? So I want you to always step back and always, at the end of the day, man, watch, at the end of the day, always step back and reflect what occurred. What you saw, what you learned, ¿me entiendes? Or just be grateful for a little something that occurred that day, and órale, you know? At the end of the day, you get a correo, good news, no matter what it is. Just at the end of the day, reflect upon what went on, you know? Pero ustedes de camaradas, you don't do that, man. And if another camarada brings it to your attention and you see no wrong in it, then shame on you. The niñas are fucked up out there. There's not too many vatos out there to dar la buena clecha that the camaradas need, you know? And sometimes some of the camaradas we have out there, they're so focused on trying to get to the top, they forget the man to the right and to the left. Okay? So, right now, ustedes tienen la oportunidad to pick at my brain and to see how a carnal views things, you know? ¿Me entiendes? Yeah. And the only way you're going to do that is by bringing certain things to light. You know? This, what you guys brought to me, is a learning experience. Para todos, not only for that man, well, apparently he's not picking up what is being laid down, you know? Pero para ustedes escuchar de mí cómo lo voy, how I see it, how I navigate through this, you know? At the same time, my perspective on why you don't do it, and you should have said, sorry, you should have realized you're wrong, orale, you know? So forth. So when there's an issue, you guys always want to talk amongst ustedes, and if ¿me entiendes? That way you guys can always school the next camarada chavalón that comes in your cell, you know? One or two of you vatos, let's say Stoppers by himself, and an 18-year-old, 19 youngster comes back here for fucking whacking a rapa. Well, everything Stoppers learned, shit like this proper etiquette, a way that a soldado, a camarada should conduct himself amongst his peers, y con los feelings, hey, he's to pass it down, you know? So that's why everything, situation that's here, you want it running like a small motherfucking machine, máquina. And it's a good thing, que me avisaron, you guys brought to my attention, it's small and petty, but it's a learning experience at the same time. ¿Me entiendes? Do you understand? Understand? You know, so, oh, no. Hey. You guys don't feel fucking, if you're not sure about something, or, it may, you know, let's say even something occurred 2 years ago, but you were unclear on why it occurred or something, or a perspective, I don't give a fuck, you can ask me, you know? You know, you guys don't be shy. I'm a man just like you guys. Don't be shy just because who I am, or feel that, orale, this brother's gonna think que soy llorón. Nah. The only way you're gonna learn is by asking. ¿Me entienden? Simón. Yeah, so anything you guys got, you know, or if there's fucking pedo in between you and another motherfucker, and, you know, two fucking knuckleheads can't come to common ground, hey, well, you know what, they bring it to the higher courts for a solution. It's better that way, and maybe I can find an appropriate solution than two camaradas stabbing themselves over something that could have been resolved another way. You know, you gotta keep in mind, you know what's happening out there in the linea. As a matter of fact, on one of the level 4 yards, I want you guys to pay close attention, you know? If you guys get back out there, avoid shit like this.
We're all validated, crazy.
Okay, well, you don't have to worry about it. But if you have another camarada that's going through something similar to what I'm going to explain to you guys, then you can always pass down your wisdom to him. You know, hey, you know, esto, this is wrong, this is the way that it should be, you know. Todos ustedes that are in the bench son camaradas. As camaradas, what are your guys' priorities?
Safety, security, the camarada, and the unity.
Okay, stopper. One more time. Okay, well, could I ask Papa, where's Papa? He asleep on me up there. I'm gonna make that boy do 1,000 burpees. He
Oh,
don't wake
not
up.
really.
Hey, órale, fast. Tu compañero.
Make sure we're all on the same page on this, so when we strive together.
Shay.
Solidarity. One jumps, we all jump.
Okay, now you notice how some responses are the same, some are different.
Yep.
None of them is wrong. ¿Me entiendes?
Simón.
They're all correct. Because that's what keeps us together. That's what keeps the steam of arms alive. You see? Different ways of expressing it or different pieces, but at the end of the day, that's what it all takes. Everything that ustedes say. Your loyalty as camaradas lies con la M, con los otros. That's why there's a difference. That's why we refer to the camaradas as camaradas, and we refer to sureños as the sureños. Now, I don't know if many of you been told or know, but you're hearing it. Every brother has a different perspective, you know. Pero los camaradas son los soldados de los otros that are there for us hasta la muerte, fuerte hasta la muerte, you know. Camaradas, their loyalty lies con la M. ¿Me entiendes? That's a camarada. Camaradas is where we make brothers from. ¿Me entiendes? That's where the carnales come from. En los camaradas. All of us que somos casados, all of us that got married, we were all camaradas at one point. So ustedes are doing what you're doing to get to the top. And it's only from that cream of the crop, de los camaradas, that we're gonna go. You know what I mean? Now, we're not gonna go pick a sureño. So there's a reason why you guys are called camaradas. And not everybody is a camarada. So you guys should not be bumping heads, because you guys are supposed to be the cream of the crop. You guys are separating, and there's a distinction between a sureño and a camarada. I always remember that. You know, yo soy camarada. That's the reason why sometimes our ask, hey, guacha, okay, somebody introduce me and tell me, órale, guacha, or, hey, eres camarada or eres sureño, you know? And I do it for a reason, or ask for a reason. Como ustedes, I don't have to right here. Homeboy ya me dijo, el Casper. So you guys, if you can, always be united. You're only as strong as your fucking weakest link. You get 5 shoelaces, right? Now, get 1 shoelace and 2 guys tug on it. With so much pressure, it's only so much fucking pressure that they can take. You want that after a certain amount of time, it's gonna snap. Get the second shoelace and wind it up with the first one. Now what? It's stronger, it carries more weight. Get that third one, that fourth one, that fifth one, twine that motherfucker together. And now what, you got a thick ass fucking rope that can fucking tug a load. And it's gonna endure, it's gonna last. Ustedes de camarada siempre deben estar así. You know? That's what's gonna keep todo suave.